Let's see how this goes. This should be connecting, having a good time, streaming live. Waves, 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 and waves. Waves live from the waves. Awesome. Cool. This is a little bit different. Waves, 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 and waves. Waves live from the waves. All right. Well, we are live. Hey, everybody. It's Drew Lentz, the Wireless Nerd. It is February 1st, and I am sitting on the shore of North Shore, Hawaii, out here doing an incredible wireless install with Eero. If you've kept up with any of the thing I've been posting on social media for the last couple days, you'll see what we're doing out here. We've got a really cool activation where we've got Eeros deployed all across this area, supporting the World Surfing League and their Pipe Pro, the Lexus Pipe Pro presented by Yeti's sponsorship. So what we've got is we've got some really cool Wi-Fi 7 devices deployed out in a common area in front of me. We've got in a VIP section, which I'm sitting in right now. And then we've also got all of the scoring that's actually taking place for the World Surfing League is running across the Eero equipment. It's been a really good time out here with my buddy Ian working on setting this stuff up. You can hear the lifeguard in the background. Sunset's going down behind me. Right behind me over my shoulder is the Bonsai Pipeline. So one of the most intriguing and also deadliest surf areas in the world. And it's been really neat to be a part of this and test outdoor weatherproofing on equipment and see what we can do with crowd sizes that go from 5 to 500 and possibly 5,000, maybe 10,000 this week. So I've definitely deployed Wi-Fi in uglier places, but this place really takes the cake for being one of the prettier ones. So I figured I would take a second to set up right here and record the podcast. I hope the audio is coming through okay. I'm not doing any editing here. Obviously, we're just going straight live, straight from the source, using my iPhone and this handy dandy microphone that was gifted to us as a delegate for Mobility Field Day. So once again, appreciate the shout out there to Juniper for kicking down these things. Now let's see. I'm going to open up my my app here so I could see who's talking. But anyway, hi. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's having a great week. You know, the start of the year is always a little bit different. You've got CES into NRF, and then with WLPC coming up soon, there's not a lot of announcements that are coming on from the product side. A little bit of changes here and there. Some things of note that have happened. You know, obviously there's some tariffs that are going into place, so all the prices of equipment are probably going to change here pretty quickly. There's been new vendors and chipset manufacturers that have been added to the blacklist by the United States government. There's been equipment, devices, and things that are looking at like they might be added to that. There's a lot of turmoil when it comes to what's happening on the global stage and the way it affects the U.S. and our Wi-Fi that we have here. But there's also some things that have happened from a policy side that I've been trying to keep an eye on to see what's going on. Let me bring up my little doc here of notes that are happening over the last couple of days. So the first thing I want to bring up, let's see, the bulk billing proposal. This is kind of interesting. If you're dealing with any type of internet service provider, you'll note that the FCC, that Brendan Carr has come in and said that what they're going to allow is that if you live in an MDU or an apartment complex, the internet services that you get provided by that apartment complex, those are the ones that you have to consume. So the bulk proposal basically means if one of the main carriers is providing internet access and they have an agreement with the apartment complex, then you as a subscriber, that's going to fall on your shoulders to you're going to have to get what is supplied to you by the provider. That's a little bit different. Basically, the FCC chair, and this is from The Verge, the FCC chair says that landlords can force bulk internet services on residents. Trump's FCC head says reducing competition will lower prices. So we'll see where that goes, but that's definitely a turn of events that's happened compared to some of the things that the way it was before, being able to choose what you got. Another piece of news to note here, this again with the tariffs. You know, a lot of what's happening this week is based on the political side of what's going on, and the tariffs are threatening what's happening. This says from TechSpot, Trump threatens tariffs on imported chips, tech goods, despite warnings about higher PC and smartphone prices. Basically, you know, we'll see how this plays out, but if you're going to buy technology, now's a good time to get whatever's on the shelf, you know, because anything that's going to be coming up over the next couple of months might have that tariff. At Wi-Fi Stand, we are going to be, there'll be a surcharge that you'll see, a tariff surcharge that goes in on anything that we bring in. And part of that, honestly, you know, just friend to friend, I guess, is I don't know how, as a manufacturer and as an importer, I don't know how the building of the ERS, the External Revenue Service, is going to affect us as someone who builds and manufactures and imports in from Mexico. And it's, they say that there's going to be the ERS, and the tariffs are going to have to be paid at the border by the importer, which means us. But the money that we bring in, that we pay, I don't know how we're supposed to allocate that. And if I don't know, I'm sure that there's other people that don't know as well. So I'm going to be looking really closely to find out how that works. But essentially, if I'm collecting $25 for every Wi-Fi stand that's sold, number one, are they keeping track of what's brought in? Number two, how are they going to be aware of what's being brought in? And then number three, if I'm going to be dinging $25 for each one, I have to have that money payable to somebody, but I don't know who I'm going to be paying that to. So there's a lot of questions that are up that require a little bit more research. And just as a simple manufacturer, it'll be a little interesting to see how that goes. So it's not just going to affect me. Obviously, it's going to affect anyone that manufactures a product or has any electronics products that are out there. It's going to be weird to see. We're definitely entering a new time here with things like that. One of the other things that came up, now that Ted Cruz has been put in front of one of the committees here. I can't remember which one it was. He's the chairman of the Commerce Committee. He announced yesterday a Congressional Review Act CRA resolution that would nullify the hotspot rule issued by the FCC. So this is a part that hits home for me, right? Because now that they're saying that they won't subsidize hotspots anymore, the concern that I have is when all of the funding first came out, and it gave communities and educational entities and people the ability to take advantage of government funding to build out wireless networks. Well, now all of a sudden, the people that didn't spend the money doing that and spent the money giving it to a carrier so that they could use hotspot style services, now that those contracts are up and now that those contracts are looking to be renewed, now the federal government is saying, well, there's not going to be funding available for educational entities to be able to use for those hotspot programs, which means that's going to be a lot of people that are offline. It's going to be a lot of people that don't have access to the internet because the money that was spent wasn't spent on a permanent solution. It was spent on a Band-Aid fix, and it was spent giving money to a carrier or a group that knew that there was an incoming to this, and that's a little frustrating. What we were able to do in the city of McAllen and what they did in the city of Pharr and what they've done in different communities throughout the United States was they made those investments in the infrastructure so that the city and the community, the municipality, the school district, whatever it is, actually owned that infrastructure. So moving forward, they didn't have to worry about things like this. But in the places that proposals like that didn't go out, that maybe they couldn't or they just didn't, now you're going to start to see that is going to affect the digital divide. And part of what we're already seeing is now that ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, has been repealed. This is some interesting notes that are coming up from Charter, from Comcast, from Spectrum, from Cox, from everyone that's out there. You're seeing losses in the number of broadband subscribers that they have. So from Light Reading, Jeff Baumgartner posted that Charter lost 171,000 broadband subscribers, absorbing the ACP impact. That's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of subs. It's a lot of people that don't have internet access. This is just bringing back the digital divide. What we thought we were solving, what we thought we were closing the gap on, now through legislation or lack of legislation is changing. Now you've got ACP that's gone, you've got 170,000 people without service. That's just on Charter Spectrum alone. But then when you add to that what's happening with pulling back the hotspots and then the freeze on government stuff that, being able to fund some of these networks, it's putting school children in a really difficult situation. One of the neat things that I get to see is being here in Hawaii, is that they have set out an initiative to be the first state, the first fiber-connected state. So good on the governor for making that promise. I got to meet one of the people that was behind that, which was so incredibly cool during my time out here. But just the initiative that's happening here in Hawaii is awesome. And granted, it is a smaller area, and people, the population is located in different pockets throughout the islands, but it's really cool to be able to see that someone like Hawaii is doing that in the United States. And I think that there are a lot more places, a lot more states and city governments and municipalities that could take advantage of things like that, especially knowing what we're getting into with what's happening politically. So that was happening. What else is going on? Comcast, speaking of carriers, Comcast is introducing their L4S service, their lower latency service, which is really cool. It can increase working latency or decrease working latency by about 75%, working with Apple, Meta, Valve, NVIDIA, and partnering with Comcast so that they can have the ability to mark the packets when they deliver it to the DOCSIS gateway, have a mark so that there's lower latency on there. And how this translates to wireless, I don't know what the marking component is that would mark it from the actual broadband modem or whatever router they have there, delivering it to the wireless access point. But hopefully there's something that comes out there. It'd be neat to see some type of support for marking those packets all the way through. There's nothing really out there yet that's doing. I mean, you can do differentiated services and you can do service levels and things like that. But knowing that it's at least getting to the home and dropping that latency, that's really cool to watch. The last thing I wanted to talk about was, man, and this is crazy, is HPE Juniper, man. The Department of Justice suing to block the merger. I didn't see that one coming, and I don't know that a lot of people did. It's crazy to think. I thought this administration was going to be a little bit more pro-business. I think a lot of people thought that as well, for better or for worse of what's going on in the White House and in the administration. But hearing that the DOJ is saying to block it, that's interesting. I've got the article right here. Light reading did it. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Everyone's written an article on this in the last couple of days. It's been pretty crazy to watch. The Justice Department is suing to block the proposed $14 billion deal that would unite Juniper and HP. Telco market concerns aren't the headline here. The DOJ calls out the deal's potential to create fewer choices for enterprises in the growing market for advanced wireless products and services, wireless LAN products and services. So Phil Harvey has the scoop on this over at Light Reading, but specifically calling out that there'll be fewer choices for enterprises in the growing market for advanced wireless LAN products and services. Man, coming right after Wi-Fi on this one. Wow, I don't even know what to say. I'm just reading the news like anybody else, right? I don't necessarily have an opinion either way on it, but I just didn't see that one coming. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see if anyone, I wonder who's behind it, I guess, is the big question. Anyway, that's about it, man. That's what we got going on over here. It's, where the news is, it feels like I'm in a different world. This is my first time in Hawaii, so it's pretty interesting, but it feels like you're totally in a different world over here. What's happening in the rest of the world doesn't really, matter, it seems, when you're out here with this view and the sunshine. But there are still things happening in the wireless industry, and one of those things is WLPC, the Wireless LAN Professional Conference, is coming up. February 17th, if you play golf and you're going, please let us know. We've got golf groups set up to go play. Me and a bunch of the guys are going to go have a good time on Monday the 17th. But if you're going to make it out there, please stop by, say hi. We'll be doing some live podcasts from there, some live broadcasting from there. It's going to be a really good time. I think this one should be a little bit different. Some of the interesting things going on with HPE Juniper acquisition, there's going to be a little bit of buzz of that. There's going to be a buzz about what's happening in the market overall. There'll be a buzz, I'm sure, about what's happening with legislation, what's happening with some of the tariffs and things that are going on. But overall, we're there to talk about technology, learn about technology, and meet people, network, and have a great time. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in Phoenix in a couple of weeks. It's going to be spectacular. It's always a really good time. But I'm going to get back to working on this network. It's 5:30 in the afternoon here. I'm going to do a couple more tweaks and work on some really cool new stuff, and then head back to my hotel. But I hope you enjoyed the scenery at least here. I don't know if the audio is coming through, but I wanted to make sure I cut a podcast. Been here for a handful of days now and a handful of days left. So hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And from the Waves Podcast, from the Waves at the Waves on the North Shore. First time. Pretty awesome. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and have a great week next week. We'll talk to you all soon.